Today we're going to be breaking down a concerning injury update surrounding Jaylen Brown, an Achilles tendonitis diagnosis, and why this is something both fans and NBA should be paying very close attention to. Today we'll cover the mechanism of injury, anatomy, severity, treatment, and most importantly, why playing through this can be extremely dangerous. So what is an Achilles tendonitis? So Achilles tendonitis is an overuse injury of that Achilles tendons. That is that thick band of tissue connecting your calf muscles to your heel bone. So instead of a sudden traumatic event, the injury develops over time due to repetitive stress, micro tears, and insufficient recovery. And for players like Jaylen Brown, this is especially relevant because of explosive first steps, repeated jumping and landing, and high minute load, especially late in the season. So the typical mechanism of injury here isn't just one single play, it's cumulative. So think of that constant eccentric loading of that calf muscle, repetitive sprinting and deceleration, sudden changes of direction, and over time this leads to micro damage in that tendon, inflammation, and degeneration if not addressed. So let's quickly review this anatomy. So the Achilles tendon connects to the gastrocnemius, seen primarily right here, and the soleus, seen below it. These are two primary muscles that make up your calf muscles. Then it comes down and attaches to your calcaneus, seen right here. This structure is responsible for that plantar flexion, like pushing off towards the ground, seen right here, the acceleration and explosiveness in general movement, and jumping and landing mechanics. So one of the key issues with the Achilles tendon is that it relatively has poor blood supply, especially in its mid portion, seen more around here. This makes that healing process much slower and increases risk of worsening injury. So Achilles tendonitis exists on a spectrum. It starts with mild inflammation, tendinosis, or degeneration. Then it could lead to maybe even partial tear, and then finally maybe even a full rupture. That last one, that Achilles tendon rupture, is a season-ending and potentially career-altering injury. Because the biggest concern with Jaylen Brown isn't just the current diagnosis, it's the progression. So because if a player continues to push through the pain, the tendon then weakens, micro tears accumulate, and then structural integrity then decreases as well. We unfortunately saw this way too many times last year, especially with players like Tyrese Halliburton with the Indiana Pacers, Damian Lillard with the Milwaukee Bucks at the time, as well as Jason Tatum, who just returned from his Achilles tendon injury with the Boston Celtics. A compromised tendon under high load can suddenly fail, leading to that rupture during a routine jump, push off, or even a non-contact play. And when that happens, the recovery timeline jumps from weeks to 9 to 12 months or more. So how is Achilles tendonitis treated? So short-term management usually includes load management, like reduced minutes and rest, anti-inflammatory strategies, physical therapy focusing on eccentric strengthening, as well as mobility and calf flexibility work. The key goal at this time is to reduce the stress on the tendon while promoting its healing. A typical recovery timeline usually depends on severity. For mild cases, usually that 1 to 3 weeks with proper management. Moderate may be taking more several weeks to months, and then maybe chronic cases can linger all season. However, the reason why this injury update on Jaylen Brown is very important is the timing, and that is critical due to the fact that we are heading into the playoffs really soon. So while Achilles tendonitis might not sound as alarming as a tear, make no mistake, this is a high-risk situation for Jaylen Brown. If properly managed, though, he can return to perform at high level. If not, this could escalate into one of the most feared injuries in basketball. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a little bit about Jaylen Brown's injury update. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.